Good morning, seniors. Hey, seniors. Good morning, seniors. Good morning, seniors. I have tried to film. Nope, not today. Okay, I can do this. Dear senior class of 2020, I've been trying to film this video for a while now, and every time I do, I end up getting emotional. But tomorrow is your last day of school, and you might end up watching this tomorrow, which means today is your last day of school. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just reflect on our year together and the things that we've read and the things that we've learned together. And I wanted to give you some of my takeaways that I hope that you remember from our time together. So I wrote them all down, so I'm going to be looking at my notes. From the Great Divorce, I hope that you remember some of the lessons that we talked about love. You learned about the different types of love and how sometimes that can be twisted into something negative. And I hope that you remember some of the lessons that we talked about for being willing to let go of things. In the Great Divorce, a lot of people had a lot of love for the wrong things, or they loved in the wrong way and they weren't willing to let those things go. And so I hope that you remember those lessons on love, and I hope that you've learned just that letting go of some things is okay. From Beowulf, I hope that you remember and that you learned to be proud of your accomplishments, but maybe not to be boastful. From Canterbury Tales, I hope that you remember that Geoffrey Chaucer was trying to point out a lot of hypocrisy that was happening with religious people, and I hope that you were able to pursue your faith in a way that isn't hypocritical. I hope that you were able to be who you say you are and not say one thing and do another. But I hope that you're able to be true to you and true to your faith and true to your religion, if that's important to you, in a way that draws people closer to you and to what you stand for rather than push you further away. From King Arthur, I hope that you learn lessons on being a good leader. I hope that you remember that even a strong leader like King Arthur surrounded himself with people that helped him with his goals and with his passions and with his leadership. Just like Jesus surrounded himself with 12 disciples, King Arthur surrounded himself with 12 knights, and together with his knights, he was able to do more and to be a good leader because of that. And then the last book we read first semester was Macbeth. And the lesson I hope you learned from Macbeth is that ambition is a good thing, but that it can also ruin your life. I hope that you are ambitious, and I hope that you pursue your goals and your hopes and your dreams. And I hope that you have someone beside you to push you in those ambitions. But don't let it take over your life and take you down the wrong path. And then lessons from second semester. We read Paradise Lost, and from Paradise Lost, I hope that you learned that the devil isn't always going to look like a red cartoon figure with pointy horns and a red pointy tail. Sometimes temptation and things like that are going to look very appealing, and they're going to use persuasion and rhetoric, and sometimes things that sound really good aren't so good. Then we read Pilgrim's Progress. I hope that from Pilgrim's Progress you were able to learn lessons of characterization just from the names of the characters, and I hope that you were able to think and reflect, if I were to be named something, if I were to be named a character trait or something that I stood for, what would I be named? What would I be characterized as? We followed characters, Christian and faithful, and their names were what they represented, what they stood for. And so if you were given a name, what name would be given to you? Then we looked at the time period, the Enlightenment, and we talked about how head knowledge was really important to people in that time period. Lots of cool things were discovered during that time. Science and inventions and new discoveries. And I hope that you learned that head knowledge is really important and it can get you a lot of places. But I hope you also learned through reading some satire that hopefully you'll be able to use your head as you go out into the real world, and you'll be able to decipher what's true from what's false, what's real from what's fake, what's serious from what's not so serious. From there we looked at Romanticism, where we move from the head to the heart, and I hope that you learn from reading some poetry and from talking about matters of the heart. I hope that you learned that poetry is all around you. It's in the music you listen to, it's in the nature that you see around you, it's in a lot of things that go beyond just old pieces of text. I hope by looking at William Blake's poetry, you learned that there is good and bad to everything in life, that there are always two sides, that there are always two contrary states to the human soul, that to be able to recognize the balance of both. And then we ended our year with Frankenstein, and even though we didn't end our year together reading Frankenstein in person, I hope that from reading Frankenstein you have learned warnings against playing God. I hope that you have heeded the caution of doing something grand just because no one else has. I hope that you've learned how to love others from reading Frankenstein. I think one of the big themes is that the ending would have been a lot different if humanity had shown a little bit of love and kindness to the monster, instead of being judgmental and having prejudice against him before even getting to talk to him. Pop culture will show you that the monster is a mute, scary, unintelligent being, but from the book you get to see that he can speak and he can read, and if people had been able to look at him beyond his exterior, that they might have seen something positive about him. I normally end the year by reading a piece of literature to you guys that is reminiscent of your kindergarten years. I normally end the year by reading Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And while I don't have that opportunity to do that for you guys this year, I am going to record a video of me reading that and send it to you guys. If any of my former students who I've taught their senior year watch this, they'll know that that's always a really emotional moment for me. And almost made it through this video. I almost made it through this video without crying, but I didn't. So, seniors, I'm proud of you guys. I miss you guys. And I love you guys. And I've got my emotional support dog right here. Clearly I need it. Okay. Signing off now. You had the opportunity to think, if I... Elvis, I'm trying to film a video. Stop.